Hi guys, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be covering Yatra Online. I think this is episode 31 of the Q1 FY26 series, and we will cover Yatra Online. We will see, what the business has to offer and everything, and then we will also do a P2P with the another, platform business that is there, that is Ixigo, which operates in the more or less same industry. पहले हम यात्रा के बारे में study करते हैं. Okay, so if you understand what does Yatra do, okay, अगर आप यात्रा, Ixigo, Make My Trip, Bookings.com, Agoda, all of them have a similar business model. They operate in the same space. What is that space? They operate in this tourism and hospitality industry where they are a mere ticketing platform. आप बोल सकते हो, okay? They do not own any hotels. They do not own any aircrafts or train, but they are basically a middle agent which connects you between that the hotel industry, the flight industry and everything to a consumer that is there. Okay, यहाँ पे यात्रा में अगर आप जा सकते हो, I think most of you would have an experience booking either through this or Make My Trip, any one of these platforms that are there. Now the पहला चीज बात करते हैं यहाँ पे, who are they catering to? Because when you compare the business model of Yatra and Ixigo, the majority, I would say the major difference come over here is the customer segmentation. Okay, अगर आप customer segment देखते हो यात्रा का if you look at it, 65% comes from B2B segment and the rest 35 comes from B2C. Okay, if you look at Ixigo on the other hand, they are 100%, I would say more or less 95%, they are a complete B2C business. When I tell B2C business, it means that you and I can go and I don't know what's wrong with the light, but when I tell B2C business, it's like people like you and I can go and book, matlab, for a normal person. When I tell B2B, it's more like, corporate, आपका SME businesses. Now you will see, right, there will be आपका जो MNC companies होते हैं, big बड़े corporate होते हैं. All of these people, they would need a business account because यहाँ पे they go to meetings, they go to conferences, they go to business trips. उनका employee के लिए they have to book, they have to book the flight tickets, the hotel tickets and everything. So ये जो काम करता है, what they do with the company, they are associated with particular companies. This is called as आपका B2B का platform. Okay, so if you look at Yatra Online, 65% comes from B2B and the rest 30 to 35% comes from B2C. Okay, versus in Ixigo, it is a majority B2C platform compared to a B2B platform. Okay, now यहाँ पे even these people also actually started being a B2C, but over the year उनका mix जो है has been increasing to B2B. Now ये B2B का advantage क्या है? The major advantages is the stickiness of the customer that is there. Unlike B2C, think about it ना, B2C में क्या होता है? See, ultimately if you're staying, like let's say you're going to Holiday Inn, okay, you're going to Holiday in Thailand tomorrow, and you know that the service that you're going to get in Holiday Inn is going to be the same irrespective of whether you book it on Yatra, whether you book it on Make My Trip or anything. So consumer का psyche क्या है ultimately? भाई कहाँ पे ज़्यादा discount मिलता है? They will book from that platform because ultimately their service is not going to be changed, right? The experience of that service will never be changed, right? So B2C में ना, that customer retention is very difficult. B2C में आपका even customer acquisition cost is higher. In terms of B2B, when you're working with corporates, now it could be a MNC के साथ ये क्या करता है? These people, उनका जो पूरा का पूरा यात्रा का account है, it will be connected to the ERP platform उनका, ठीक है? Enterprise Resource Planning that is there. It will, you will see, right, most of the times क्या होता है, you will have to book a ticket, फिर आपको ticket को लेके you have to submit to your HR and all of it, right? फिर आपको वो लेना पड़ता है पैसा and all. Instead of that, they have an entire platform specifically built for each and every companies where उनका company का account will be directly connected to Yatra. Okay, so it will be like let's say a personalized app for every company or a personalized system. So it makes the entire process, whether how many ever employees you want to book and everything. Not only that, they don't just work with the big corporates that are there. They also work with the small SME companies. जिसका शायद employees are hardly between 5 to 10 people. उनके लिए भी एक business account create करके where they put the GST का number and they can start booking. So this is the number one major difference that is there. And यही से जो है, इसी से ही the entire, I would say, although Yatra and Ixigo that is there, when you look at it from the front, when you just look at the numbers, it might look the same, but this one point in the business model that is there, right, just one chota data point that is there, it completely changes the outlook of both the businesses. Okay, now then we will go, let us just understand कि like इनका numbers क्या है. First we will understand the numbers. If you look at Q1 has been a fantastic start over here for Yatra Online. अगर आप देखते हो sales that is there, sales grew by 108%. उनका जो service booking है, like revenue less service cost that is there, which is a main thing to look at for, even that grew by 44%. अगर आप PAT को देखते हो, PAT went from 40 to 160 crore. Gross bookings अगर आप देखते हो, that went up by 9%. Now here is the thing, you will have to look at gross bookings, very important. Okay, you will see here gross booking का मतलब क्या है? ग्रॉस बुकिंग का मतलब है, लेट्स से फॉर एग्जांपल व्हेन आई एम बुकिंग अ होटल, ओके, व्हेन आई एम बुकिंग अ होटल देयर इज होटल का रूम का चार्ज, राइट, एक दिन का, लेट्स से आई एम बुकिंग अ होटल फॉर 1 day, 15,000 रुपीज से पर नाइट का चार्जेस, देन यू हैव टैक्सेस, देन यू हैव जीएसटी, देन यू हैव कन्वीनियंस फीस एंड एवरीथिंग, शायद वी नो द एंटायर बिल अमाउंट कम्स अप टू 20,000. This entire 20,000 that I as a customer will pay, this is called as your gross booking that is there. But think about it, this 20, this 20,000 I'm paying, it is not क्या बोलते, it is not यात्रा's money, right, ultimately, because यहाँ पे होटल को पैसा देना पड़ता है, आपका टैक्सेस देना पड़ता है, you are going to get a small commission. So you will see that this gross booking is very important. Now think about it, gross booking जो है that went up only by 9%, okay, सिर्फ 9% से grow हुआ, okay. So the total number of bookings you can tell, see, gross bookings is similar to आपका GTV, gross transaction value that we call in the Zomato and Swiggy ka business. It is a good mix of value and volume growth, okay. Because think about it, when will your gross booking value go up? Gross booking will go up when, let's say, more number of people come into bookings on your platform. So that is one of the reasons. So volume growth आता है. The second reason why gross booking will grow up is when let's say a person, instead of doing 20,000 का room, कल जाके वो 40,000 का room करे, right? उसके वजह से value growth भी आता है, product mix better होता है. So it is a good combination of both volume and value growth, okay. अगर आप gross booking को देखते हो, it is up only by 9%. But if you see, revenue is up by 108% और उनका revenue less service cost जो है, that is up by 44%. So how is it possible जब आपका volume and value growth को combination is only 9% and your sales is up by 108% and service cost that is up by 44%, revenue led service? The reason is because the business has gone through a major transformation in this last 1 year compared to last Q1 to this Q1. If you see, it has gone through a major changes. Again, connecting back to the first point that we discussed with respect to the business model, ki these people are now catering more and more into corporate businesses, corporate clients, SME clients, that is where 65% of the business is coming from and that is where they're pushing, okay. So number one thing over here is, agar aap pehla cheez dekhte ho, this is the number one reason they are shifting from mere B2C business to a complete how do I put this, from a mere B2C business to a B2B का business में they are pushing. इसके वजह से उनका customer acquisition cost is less, unka retention rate is higher. That is number one. And the other thing along with this business ka deal is, see, business agar aap B2B mein karte ho na, aapka margins is higher, right? Because aapko yahan pe discount nahi dena padta hai, right? Agar aap customer ke sath kar rahe ho, B2C mein kar rahe ho, 100 times you have to give discount, you have to be lucrative as a platform, for you to come and make a purchase or do a booking on Yatra or Make My Trip versus, let's say, holiday in ka aap website mein jaake kar rahe ho. So this is one reason. The second reason is discounting, like I was talking. Even in B2B का business अगर आप देखते हो, these people have, whether it is B2B or B2C, the entire discounting has come down. Now how did this discounting come? They have they have partnered up with various banking partners and आप देखते हो ना कि like whenever you go to make a payment, ये आता है कि like use this credit card, आपको शायद 1,000 rupees offer मिलेगा and all of it, right? You will get this many discounts that are there associated with various banking partners. So यहाँ पे these people have partnered up and now whatever the and they have made the banking partners give a discount to the customers. As a result, जो भी discount दे रहा है, even if they are giving any discount, it is not coming from their own pocket, it is coming from किसका pocket? Banking partners का pocket it is coming from. The third majority is, if you look at it, there are two kinds of business, right? One is flight, train and bus tickets and the other one is hotel ka tickets. When you compare the two most things over here is flight and hotels, अगर आप flights में देखते हो ना, the gross उनका margins जो होता है, it is hardly 3 to 4%. Versus अगर आप hotels में देखते हो तो margins are around 11%. Okay, so obviously hotel का bookings are much more lucrative compared to flight का bookings, right? Now over here क्या हुआ है? The gross booking value का, earlier if you see the contribution of the hotel का business was hardly 10 to 11%. Now to the gross booking, आपका जो metric है, this hotel का booking contribution is around 20%, 15 to 20% in that range. Okay, so as a result again यहाँ पर भी product mix थोड़ा change हो चुका है, since majority of the booking is coming from hotels and not from flights. Again, this is one of the reason that you see, in spite of that gross booking value has gone only a little bit up in a single digit, you see that the sales and the revenue less service cost that is there, that has had a huge momentum that is there. Okay, another thing I'll tell you one thing about Yatra, why Yatra ka result is much better, okay, compared to, let's say, I will come to Ixigo. Now even if you look at the normal growth metrics, like sales आप देख रहे हो, Yatra का 108 versus Ixigo का 73 and everything, even if you look at the PAT and everything, why Yatra is still better is because Yatra का अगर आप देखते हो, they work like what did I tell you, they work more towards a B2B, right? Corporate से काम करते हैं, 65% revenue comes from there. Now think about it, when will corporate people do most of the bookings? जब उनका meetings, incentives, उनका conference, उनका exhibitions, all of this increases, right? Let's say if a company is doing more of this, then they will have to send more of the employees and they will do more of the bookings. As a result, Yatra will make more money. Now when this term is called as MICE, okay, meetings, incentives, exhibitions, conferences, okay. ना ये माइस जो होता है ना, दिस माइस का इवेंट दैट इज है, यहाँ पे एक सीजनैलिटी बिजनेस है विद रिस्पेक्ट टू कॉर्पोरेट. बिकॉज जब आप कॉर्पोरेट का बिजनेस देखते हो, all of these mice, this events that are there, it happens mostly in Q3, Q4. Like if you look at the seasonality, it happens in Q2, Q3. These are the two best quarters, followed by Q4, followed by Q1. So Q1 is a very very lean quarter for them, like it is seasonally weak. So in spite of being seasonally weak quarter, you have done 108% kind of growth compared to what Ixigo does, 73%. So अगर आप सारे चीज को देखते हो ना, whether you look at sales, whether you look at margins, right, margins is somewhere around 20-22%. When you talk about उनका gross booking value, when you talk about the business model also, Yatra is a much better model than Ixigo. Why? Because like I told you, let's revise Ixigo once. Ixigo is a completely B2C model, right? Completely B2C model. Okay, that is number one. Which means what over here? You will have to spend more on customer acquisition, you will have to spend more on discounting, and there is no stickiness with respect to consumer, right? Because think about it, because see, in a B2B, you have already integrated your entire Yatra ka platform into their ERP. Okay, so it becomes, who would want to go and change? You might give them 5 to 10% ka discount. It becomes really difficult for you to change. In fact, if you talk about Yatra, unka retention rate is 97% with their B2B business. So I hope you understand why B2B business is much more lucrative than a B2C business. The other thing with Ixigo over here is the like I told you. So इसके वजह से Ixigo का थोड़ा a little bit you would say, see, I know it is not comparable in one way, right? Because एक का B2B है, B2B में seasonality best season is Q2 and Q3, followed by Q4 and Q1. With Ixigo, when it is a B2C platform, which is the best season? Q1. Why you tell me Q1 is the best season? April, May, June. Okay, April, May, June are your Q1 season. April and May, schools have summer holidays, so a lot of people travel to their gav and villages and everything, right? So Q1 is a much 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 better season for them. So seasonality के भी एक difference है. As a result, इसलिए मैं बार बार बोल रही हूँ कि like business model के वजह से पूरा का पूरा like how do I tell you, it's not even comparable in a way. But having said that, if I have to also take, if I have to make a P2P comparison with Yatra and Ixigo, Yatra is a much better bet than Ixigo because of the following reason. One is B2B versus B2C. वहाँ पर customer retention is very high, customer acquisition cost is high, and think about it, that ultimately you as a customer, you wouldn't care कि like आपको Ixigo में book करे हो, make my trip में book करे हो, ultimately कहाँ पे सस्ता मिलता है, you will go over there. So this is one thing. Second thing over here, I told you, right, flights, trains, bus, hotels. Out of all of these things, which is the most lucrative one? Hotels over here. And who has hotel ka share? A good share of hotels, Yatra. Versus when you look at Ixigo का majority shares आते हैं flight, trains and bus से. They do not have that much coming from hotels. Hotels का अगर आप देखते हो, it is probably in single digit. It's not that, again, it is, they are planning to jump over it, but we do not know when it will happen. So this is another, the second reason. The third reason, like I told you, अगर आपका कुछ भी हो जाता है, whether it is war or whatever, if tomorrow you will have to send your client to on-site, if you have to do anything, you will ultimately, do it. There is not going to be any rukawat over here, right? When it talks about business. Versus when you talk about Ixigo is a completely B2C business, which means what? You are dependent on that entire tourism का माहौल कैसा होता है. If you look at Q1 of Ixigo, it could have probably been better. But Ixigo का क्या हुआ था यहाँ पे, right? As you know, हमारा April May में we had that war, because of which the entire 8 to 10 days, I believe almost 2 weeks, many airports were closed across north of India, which had an impact. Second is Iran and Israel का war चल रहा था, because of which Middle East का पूरा that air का again there was a airspace was closed over there, right? This was another reason. So again Air India also started cutting, because उनका वो गुजरात में वो flight crash हुआ था. As a result, Air India started cutting down on most of the flight. उनके international flight also they cut. Why am I telling this is because, see, First of all, you do not Ixigo doesn't have any advantage compared to Make My Trip or or any other things, right? I mean, they're just a ticketing platform. आपको like first of all consumer के साथ भी कोई there is no advantage, and on the other hand you do not have any other advantage in even in terms of B2B also. मतलब you have to like really kiss ass with all this flight partners and hotel partners at the end of the day. I mean, anybody can replace you, anybody can do. I mean, there is no moat specifically you can tell with Ixigo. With Yatra, little bit that moat comes from that B2B ka business, ठीक है? Because see, when you talk about Yatra now, people think Yatra is merely a ticketing platform, but now since you moved to that B2B ka business, now it is more than a ticketing platform. It is a tech business ultimately. It's not. They're working in the ticketing business, but they're mostly a tech related, because you have to build all the systems and give to the corporate people, and make sure the entire operation is happening smoothly. So it is both, I would say, ticketing plus a tech business. So I would say relatively when you talk about Ixigo and Yatra, even in terms of business model, agar aap numbers dekhte ho, everything, if you see, Yatra is much better. Now even if you compare with numbers, Yatra ka sales is how much? 108. Ixigo ka sale is how much? 73. If you talk about pat, if you look at Ixigo ka pat is up by 30%. If you talk about Yatra ka pat went from 4 to around 16 crore. Immense operating leverage you got, right? If you talk about GTV up is for Ixigo is up by 55%. GTV for them is up by 9% for Yatra. But in spite of being 9%, we saw, because there is a product mix change happening over there, how it is benefiting Yatra in terms of top line as well as bottom line. So all of these reasons. And the last final nail in the coffin is if you talk about Yatra is a valuation. I would say valuations of Yatra for like their guidance is usually at 20%. They're being very conservative. Yatra is guiding for a 20% in top line, and bottom line, I mean, in terms of EBITDA, adjusted EBITDA, they're guiding for 30%. और उनका ये भी कहना है कि like we will strive very hard to achieve this. Now think about it. You are getting, I believe, Yatra at a 30 to 35 P, 1 year forward P. Okay, 20% growth engine at 30 to 35 P. Ixigo, if you talk about it, if I assume also they will do somewhere around, a decent set of PAT, I think the 1 year forward PE comes up to somewhere like, I think as per my calculation, what I did, I don't have it in my notes right now. कितना था इसका? Yeah, 60 crores tha in FY25. Let's say they will do 100 crore this year. Even if you do so, 1 year forward PE comes up to 98. Think about it, 98. Okay, so again, I mean, I don't blame Ixigo over here, because ultimately Ixigo got listed at a higher valuation only because everybody wanted an exit over here. I mean, that is the sad reality of all these new age businesses that get listed. I would say Yatra got listed at a decent valuation compared to Ixigo. So overall, I would say, see, ultimately valuations doesn't matter in this race. If tomorrow Ixigo starts to grow faster than Yatra, then nobody will care about Yatra, even if it is available at 10p. But looking at Q1 FY26 numbers alone, if you will see that Yatra as a business, as a number, everything, it is much ahead compared to Ixigo. Now what matters over here is we have to see कि like इसका growth rate जो है वो टिका रहे, right? Because when you talk about Ixigo, again, I do not know if that 73% kind of growth rate is very sustainable. Similarly for Yatra, this 100% kind of growth rate, this has come because now your product mix change over and everything. But I don't think again for either of these companies probably this growth rate would be sustainable in the near future. If they do continue to grow at this rate, obviously well and good, but it becomes very hard at the end of the day. So we will have to see aage jaake, will these people be able to do that 20 to 30 40%, that high growth rate, will they be able to maintain? And again, if Yatra has to win over Ixigo, they have to continue to grow at a higher rate than Ixigo that is there. Unka jo B2B ka business hai, they have to continue to push and push more and more, and start getting better numbers. That is that. But overall, I would still say like Yatra is a bit better just in terms of business model, because वहाँ पे थोड़ा risk कम है in terms of business, stickiness ज़्यादा है because you're working with the B2B people, with the corporate, stickiness ज़्यादा है, customer retention is high, customer acquisition cost is less, unlike Ixigo where आपका यहाँ पे customer acquisition cost is high, there is no stickiness with the consumer, right? And you also have to like work with various other airline partners, hotel partners and everything. I mean, it's just I think in a way what I'm trying to convey is there is nothing unique about you, there is nothing moat about, that there is nothing about it. Because even when you talk about a food delivery business, when you talk about all of this, there are many people that are operating over here. But you see, right, Zomato and Swiggy has that edge which no other platform has, right? Whether you talk about Big Basket, whether you talk about Flipkart, nobody has that edge what Zomato and Swiggy has. Unlike over here with Ixigo, when you talk about, I don't think they have any separate edge which, let's say tomorrow, booking.com, yeah, Agoda, all of these people have. I mean, you're just another player in the sea. At least if it were a monopoly market, I would understand, or a duopoly market. But it is neither a monopoly nor a duopoly. I mean, there are so many players over here, right? So many players over here that it becomes very hard कि like, to try and estimate कि like आपका क्या होने वाला है. But overall, that's that. Hopefully both of these companies continue to grow at a very fast rate, and hopefully Yatra, continues to win the race compared to Ixigo. And we will see क्या होता है Q2, Q3, Q4 में, if Yatra can sustain this growth rate or not. Anyways, guys, that's that about today's video. And as you know, we are doing a portfolio analysis workshop on the 24th of August. That is the upcoming Sunday, the next Sunday that is there. And if you guys want to know, what I'm doing with my portfolio, right? I think a lot of you know what my portfolio is like, and you will see कि like, what I keep telling कि like allocation जो है, that we do not decide, that company decides. And based on this, based on this logic, how does a churning take place in the portfolio, and why churning is not bad, right? Because if you want to generate an alpha, churning becomes very, very critical. So anyways, this is something that we will be doing in the workshop. Make sure you get your seats, right, and before the seats sell out. Anyways, guys, that's that about today's workshop, sorry, today's video. I will see you guys in another video. Bye.